because we have people waiting, so. Alright, come on. I hope we work now. I'm working, and it says my desktop audio is working. That was really annoying. I'm sorry, y'all. That was me trying to use my AirPods because I really like how the microphone sounds on the AirPods. And
you're good.
yeah, and it just didn't work. So I was like, I can hear, I can talk, and then it just wasn't working on the stream. So that was my fault. We're here now. We're only 10 minutes or 15 minutes late, but it's fine. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But yeah, today we're going to be talking remakes. So we are going to be talking about Final Fantasy VII. So I ask if you have not played Final Fantasy VII or if you do not want spoilers. I watched this later. I know I said that last week as well.
Yeah, you love spoiling stuff.
I know, but that's just like been our thing the past couple weeks. It's just spoiling everything, but whatever. But yeah, we're going to just talk about some remakes and what we kind of want remade in the new generation. And yeah, just kind of, we have Katie today because we know Katie is all about Chrono Trigger, but also plays Final Fantasy and is a huge gamer. She's not just a one-show pony with Chrono Trigger. So we wanted to get her in this conversation because she definitely has a lot of good things to say about Chrono Trigger, but also other things. So
I could go for a Chrono Trigger remake.
well, we're going to talk about that. I'm very
I'd be down.
Yeah. So hello, Katie. Welcome back. We are so happy to have you.
So happy to be here. Hello.
Hello. We had your name in our last podcast, and everyone's like, "Why is it Katie?" And we're like, "Because we love her. We just love her so much."
Wait, what happened? I'm so sorry. I haven't had a chance to listen to it.
You're fine. I had this overlay, and I have Drowned in there right now. It's a 6-person overlay, and we just had you because I didn't make a new one, and I was like, "Fuck it, I'll just put Katie's name in there and put a picture in there and just pretend like she's here." And so. Yeah, everyone's like, "Why is Katie's name in there? What, is she here?" And I was like, "No, but we love her. We want her to come back." So, yeah, but Drowned, you're in today, but you're just a picture of Cloud. So sorry about that. Katie's too quiet. Shadow's too loud. It's always like one or the other. Okay.
I mean, I'm just a loud voice.
Hi,
You should contact me and say "Hey, can you just record one sound clip and send it in, and then just splice that into the podcast so it looks like I'm actually still there."
We should have it because I have we're on Spotify now.
That'd be funny.
So we have an intro. And it's just a random music. It should just be you saying hi. Just hello.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. And I'm here also.
Just be our official announcer. That'd be awesome. All right. So let's get talking. It's just been a crazy day today. So we have a new generation coming with PS5, and that's in November, right? Allegedly. We still don't have a cost.
Hopefully.
Do we have a cost yet? I feel like we don't.
I would bet good money on what I guessed before. $600 for the one with the disc drive, $500 for no disc drive. But there's rumors floating around that some people think it's going to be $1,000, which is absurd because that's just absolutely not going to be the case.
Oh my god! Yeah, no.
The PlayStation 3 released on $1,000 price point, and it was not good.
Yeah,
I'm with you. $600.
No, it wasn't $1,000. It was $599. That was
the very first one when the really fat boys came out.
That was $1,000.
That was the whole meme because you had Kaz Hirai and he was like $599, $599. That was E3 or something, and it became an internet meme because people were laughing at how preposterous that price was. I think the $599 was the big hard drive, the 60 gig at the time.
Okay. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, there was something like that. There was a special one you could get or something that was super expensive.
Ridge Racer. Yeah, I think they had 2 or 3 different hard drive sizes on the PS3.
Giant enemy crab.
Oh my god. I don't know because I'm just so surprised we haven't gotten a cost. It's almost September. It's coming out in 2 months. Shouldn't we have something to budget for? I don't know.
I think they're feeling temperament and they're doing, market research.
Yeah.
To really figure out, because they don't want to screw it up. They have the PS3 as a scar on bad pricing, which I feel like the PS3's price was fair, but consumer reception disagreed.
Yeah, I mean, people always want to get things for lower money, so
I don't know.
It's not going to go away.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it did come out as $1,000 just because of how expensive gaming systems are at this time and period, and also games in general, I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I was looking at new hardware, so I've got a Galaxy Note 9. When I bought it, I paid maybe $900 for it unlocked. I was looking at current phones now, which I think is the Galaxy Note 20. It's like the latest upgrade to mine. $1,500 unlocked. If my phone's going to cost me $1,500, like my console in my brain, I would suspect should cost the same too, for a good one.
I don't know. I wouldn't pay like I don't know. It's different with a phone because I use my phone all the time. Like my phone is always on me, so like I'll pay.
How many hours do you play of video games a year?
I mean,
if you think about it that way,
I don't know. Maybe not enough. Like not that much. I don't know. Not like.
I feel like it would be great if there were like leasing options. Like I know Sony has a credit card system. If they had some sort of transactional thing where it's like, okay, you can pay off your console over 2 years.
Jeez. I don't know. This was not supposed to be the conversation, but I think it does need to be discussed a little bit since we are talking new generation. I don't know. Are you guys going to get the PS5 upon release? I'm not. I'm going to wait until something I like comes out. What about you, Katie?
I think so. I mean, like, I'm at least gonna get it like close to release, but the only reason I'm going to is just because I'm splitting the money I'm splitting it with someone else. Because like otherwise, even if it's like 600, it's like, oh my god, that's so much. Like,
yeah, that is a lot.
But 300, I can do that if I'm sharing it with someone. Depends on like what's gonna be there right away. Like I'm definitely getting it, but like if there's nothing like I think they've said Ratchet and Clank's gonna be there right away. I think they said that Spider-Man game's gonna be there right away. Personally, that's like not enough for me, but
yeah,
I don't know. If they show off like something that gets me like hooked right away, then I'll get it. But otherwise, I'll just wait. Like maybe it just took like a couple months. That's what I did for the PS4. So
right. I waited, I think, until oh god, I can't remember. Something came. I think it was Final Fantasy 15, to be honest with you. And when that came out, I got the PS4. But I usually wait until it's a game that I really want to play. But what about you, Doctor? What are you thinking with the new console?
I'm gonna get it on release. I've gotten every single PlayStation on release. It's just kind of what I do.
Right.
I'm gonna not give it up now.
that's me with Nintendo.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
I had a hard time getting a Switch when it first came out, though. Like for a month, I couldn't find one.
Me and my boyfriend, we traded because we had two PS4s. Don't ask why. We traded our PS4 for someone's Switch, so that's how we got it so quickly. But yeah, Shadow, what about you? Are you gonna go for Xbox? I don't know. Like that's another question.
I tend to buy everything. I mean, I was like the one kid who had a Neo Geo. I tend to always buy everything, and these days, I tend to buy duplicates. Like I still have an older Switch, like the original firmware, new in a box. No need to ask me why. I'm not really going to discuss it here on stream. But I do try to get first-gen hardware because for science reasons, the original releases always have the best hardware for science-y stuff.
That's interesting.
I didn't know
That's
that.
cool to know.
So
This actually might be the first time I get an Xbox. I've never gotten a Microsoft console, but I might get one this time.
Why are you thinking getting? I mean, like I love Xbox too. Like I definitely love the Xbox 360. I don't think I'll get a new Xbox, but what is making you want to get an Xbox?
I very recently, for the first time, played the Halo series.
Ooh.
And so now I'm like a Halo fan, so I actually really want to play Halo Infinite, and that's really all it is.
Oh my god.
But I think it's coming out on PC too, so I don't know. I might not.
Yeah, the Xbox landscape is completely changing. Like I feel like they're going to eventually have every single Xbox game available on PC. I want to get an Xbox because of the backwards compatibility. I've been really proud of the way they've responded to backwards compatibility.
Great. Vanessa, what about you? What are you thinking with this new generation? Are you going to get anything?
I'm probably going to do the same as you and wait a little bit.
Right. It's just hard because I'm like, I definitely want to play Horizon that's coming out. Whenever Final Fantasy 16 or Kingdom Hearts 4 or also Final Fantasy 7 Part 2, but there's really nothing I want to play at this moment that really makes me want to get it on release. So for those of you who are getting it on release, are you just getting it because it's like collector, or is there something you really want right away?
It'll be backwards compatible with PlayStation 4 games, and I know there are some release games like Katie had mentioned. Ratchet and Clank is something I'm really looking forward to. Also, there's been speculation and rumor about different games that are going to be coming out in the near future or near-ish future.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't know. I just like getting in on the day one because there also are going to be more games that we don't necessarily realize are going to be put up to the PlayStation 5, and so I'd be and like an absolute idiot, I bought Skyrim like 7 different times, and I'm going for like a buy for the PS5 too.
Oh my god. Yeah. For
So,
Must resist urge to give you shit for Skyrim.
Oh my god. I know. So
there are tons
I'm
of us.
kidding. It's just funny watching your reaction.
I know, you're like
but
getting
Skyrim's a
red.
good game. It's just so fun.
Oh my god. So Drown said that the PS5 is rumored to be very low in initial numbers, which is almost certainly why they've gone with that dumb illegibility thing. And then Evil Tuck says, I think I read something about like back orders because they haven't predicted this amount of people wanting to give one. Big surprise. Come on, it's quarantine.
Yeah, remember when the Wii came out?
Oh my
I remember
god.
waiting online.
I mean,
at the
there's
Nintendo store in New York for the Wii.
Really?
there's people who still think it's gonna get delayed to next year because of the pandemic and everything.
I mean,
I think it's a distinct possibility that they're gonna say like it's not actually coming out this year.
I wouldn't be
I
surprised.
think it would be a mistake.
Really?
Yep, because the most consoles, if you look historically at consoles, they're released relatively close to holiday season,
that's
Oh, yeah.
true.
and more
Oh, yeah,
people will
no.
buy things as like a gift. You know what I mean? I think it would hurt their beginning sales, but I do believe it's a possibility too. I just
Yeah.
think it's going to be a tough sell.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to be really cautious.
Yeah, it's gonna be weird. I don't know what to expect. Like again, I don't really feel like it's coming out in 2 months. It just seems so sudden for me. I wouldn't be surprised if it was delayed, but you make a good point. Like they always sell around Christmas time. That's always what they do. I don't know. So it's gonna. I don't know. I don't know what to expect with this new generation. But then again, 2020 turned out to be shit too. So I don't know what the hell's gonna happen.
There's rumors of a PS5 event in the beginning of September, so we'll
Oh.
see.
Okay.
We'll see.
These events I feel like come out of nowhere. There was one this week, and I was like, "What? Like when did I don't know."
Oh yeah. I don't know whenever those get planned. I feel like they do come out of nowhere, and I just always miss them.
They're usually announced first on the PS blog and then on the PlayStation Twitter.
Oh, okay, because there was what was it? It was game. What was it? What was this week? It was
Gamescom?
something like
Gamescom
that.
or something?
Gamescom.
Yeah, Gamescom.
Gamescom.
Yeah, because I was in the bathtub and I was like, "Oh shit!" and I was like, "I want to watch, but like."
There's games being announced.
I was like, I'm a little busy here. I can't really get up. So that was weird. Kind of just let's switch to the remake talk. So I kind of saw an interesting argument on Twitter actually, because this is actually Doctur's subject. He really wanted to talk about it, and this is his. We kind of switch weeks on what we talk about, on who decides the subject, and this is Doctur's baby this week. So Doctur, feel free to navigate the conversation how you see fit. I did put some notes because I think all of us have had a crazy week, which I feel like I say every week, but life's fucking crazy.
Crazier.
Huh?
My son's on fire right now.
Yeah, especially for you guys in the States. Like over here, I'm pretty safe. Like I'm fine. But, as far as I know. But anyways, I saw kind of a tweet that was like about 2D and 3D movies, and also how Disney is remaking all these old movies. And it said something really interesting. I want to know what you guys think. So it just says that remaking all the old things like games and movies is kind of devaluing the art form that used to be there. You know what I mean? It's like almost devaluing that old art form. What do you guys think about that?
I have an opinion on this.
Go ahead.
I think that's nonsense. Honestly, nothing devalues the original. Like for instance, I love Final Fantasy VII. Original is my favorite game of all time. I love Final Fantasy VII Remake as well. But playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, I shortly after finishing went back and played Final Fantasy VII Original as well, and just had just as good a time as the last 400 times I played it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like I think people, I really think generally, and this is not just video game related, but just like worldwide. I think everybody gets kind of fearful of change and thinking that things that are coming will ruin other memories from it. But that shouldn't be how it is. You should be able to look at everything like in sections almost, individually, if you will, and enjoy them for what they are. And honestly, I was so impressed with the Final Fantasy VII Remake that the reason I came up with this topic, I wanted to talk about it, is I think it'd be really, really interesting to think about what games would be awesome if they did just as good of a job that they did with Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, because Remake was amazing. Oh my god, we'll talk about that later. But I mean, do you guys have any Shadow, Vanessa, or Katie? Do you guys think that's true, or do you have an opinion on that?
I don't necessarily agree, but Vanessa, you go first.
No. You go ahead.
Nope,
I need
ladies
to
first, I'm sorry.
gather my. God damn it!
I know that was a hard one to like really like.
Wait.
It was a hard one to explain you guys without the picture. I was like, shit, what did the picture actually say?
Actually, no, I'll take it, Vanessa. I'll give you time to think about it.
Okay,
Unless you want to go
thanks.
first, Katie.
No, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't necessarily agree. Growing up in the 80s definitely gave me advantage because creative minds were abundant in the 80s, like Hollywood movies and all sorts of fiction. Like there were so many new stories that came out that were original and unique, like RoboCop. Like I'm just thinking like stuff like that only happened during that time. And then, it ebbs and flows. Like there were still movies in the 80s and 90s that were remade from like 50s and 60s, like old stories that were brought back to life and maybe with a little bit of a different spin. So I feel like that always happens no matter what generation you're in. There may be times when a specific decade or a generation has more creative minds or more unique creative minds than others. Sure, cool, but I don't feel like it's an end to creativity or uniqueness when you remake stuff.
That's true, yeah, because I mean, I don't know, I saw that and I was like, oh god, I kind of feel that way, especially with like the movies. Maybe not games, but movies. I feel like we're like undervaluing like 2D art. You know what I mean? I feel like it's just like, oh, this wasn't good enough, so let's remake it. So I kind of agree with it. I don't know. Vanessa, what do you think?
Personally, like, I don't have like bad feelings towards remaking anything from like back decades ago. I think it's actually kind of cool to see like how far we've come as far as technology goes, to like see like 2D graphics and like pixelated graphics versus like what we have now in the CGI. I think it's really cool, and I really like looking at like side by side comparisons of like screenshots and stuff regarding that.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't necessarily think remaking stuff is bad. I feel like, yeah, I know there's the argument that, oh, okay, this just shows like lack of creativity. Like you guys aren't coming up with anything new, so you're just dipping into the past to like make money off of that. But I don't know.
Right. Katie, what do you think?
For me, it kind of it depends on what is remade. Like, I think the best things to revisit and remake are things that maybe couldn't have met their full potential back then, or were like close to great, but they had like limitations. Like, I think FF7 is actually a really good choice to remake because it's kind of the original's kind of aged. Like it's the visuals aren't like all that pretty to look at least in my opinion. Some of the other Final Fantasies have done much better in that regard.
Right.
And stuff like localization where like maybe the lines of dialogue kind of came across as more like crude in the original translation, so you get to like beef that up a little bit in the remake. And for that, like, I think it's a great idea. But then there are like moments where it's kind of clear where it's more they're trying to like bank on nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the case of like the Disney remakes, personally I don't see a point in making like live action remakes of like old beloved, like to me that like comes across as a little more, it's like kind of a little more cynical, where they're probably just doing it because they know people love that old thing.
Right.
And I'm kind of more in the boat of like I'd rather see like new stuff or try to revisit stuff that maybe couldn't have done as well, or I mean that didn't like wasn't as good as it could have been back then. Of course they don't do stuff like that because that's not the popular stuff, and so it's kind of tricky. They have to pick stuff that they know is going to be more profitable, but at the same time sometimes I don't know. Sometimes I'm more in the camp of leave well enough alone. So I'm kind of in the middle.
Right, I'm the same because like Lion King was remade, and I know I'm going into movies, but it was stupid. I was just like, leave it alone. It was so good. There was no reason to remake Lion King at all, and there's no reason to remake what other movies have come out. Mulan doesn't need to be remade.
Seriously.
I have a thing on Mulan, actually.
You do? What do you think about Mulan being remade?
I actually agree with that one specifically because from what I hear, the American like cartoon by Disney was actually like relatively disrespectful to their culture and didn't follow the exact. And so like that's why the Mulan that's being made is actually going to be a little different. Like for instance, Mushu is not anything at all in that. Like he's not a character in the entire story. And so I think it's actually that one's maybe like a revisiting of a story that might have been really cool for some people to see, and then they watch the cartoon and they're like, wait, what the fuck is this? You know what I mean?
That's
I
true.
Let's hope
completely
it's not like a Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon kind of remake.
Yeah, I completely agree with that take. Like that's the kind of remake that interests me a little more when it comes to stuff like Disney stuff, because I'm like, oh, okay, they're doing a completely different direction with it. So it's kind of a remake, but it's also kind of like a reimagining almost.
Yeah.
And that to me comes from that's a much more exciting prospect.
Yeah, I agree. That's way more interesting.
Well, then like Beauty and the Beast. So I watched Beauty and the Beast 4 times in theaters, and I loved it. But then I was like, yeah, I'm weird. I loved it, but like it was reimagined, but the story was exactly the same as like the original. So like, yeah, I guess you're right with Mulan. Mulan's gonna be a lot different. But like this also comes up in games. So I mean, other than Final Fantasy, what games have been remade?
Resident Evil 2.
Resident Evil 2 has been remade. What else? Like
That was like the biggest remake before Final Fantasy 7.
Oh, I never.
Are we
played-
talking like straight up remakes or like HD ports and stuff like that?
Straight
Good
up
distinction.
remakes.
Ratchet and Clank, the PS4. That was like wasn't that a reboot or remake or something?
I don't think it's a remake. I think it's a continuation of the story, right?
Oh, I thought it was a reboot, like shifting gears, like a multiverse kind of thing.
There's a lot of reboots, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
'cause
kind of hard to keep track of.
Secret of
Bandicoot.
Mana.
Crash Bandicoot, yeah.
Secret of Mana
Thank you,
has been
Dan.
remade.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Crash Bandicoot.
I'm hyped for that, by the way.
Hell yeah.
So there hasn't been like a ton. I mean, there's been like a few, and like I think Final Fantasy was really the first one that kind of made it mainstream because I didn't know about it. Or Resident Evil as well, but
There have been a lot of like we take the game, put it on a new console, put it in HD, and like tweak a few things. There's been a lot of those, but like straight up, like we're rebuilding it from the ground up. Yeah, like not too many so far.
right. There's only really been a couple that have really made it into the. Link's Awakening was apparently remade. Someone
Oh
said in the
yeah,
chat.
Link's Awakening. Yep.
So that's really
Yeah. Oh yeah.
which is a weird one to remake, I think. I
That was
guess not.
huge on the Switch.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, that was recent too. That was before Final Fantasy, but anyways, so I guess let's just jump into Final Fantasy 7 because I think we did really want to talk about it. We have been putting this off because we just wanted to avoid spoilers, and
Been enough time.
it's been enough time. It came
Y'all
out
had
in
enough time to
March.
leave.
Yeah, it's almost been 6 months. Again, if you have not played the game and you don't want spoilers, please leave and watch this episode later on Spotify or YouTube. It will be up. But yeah, so I mean, I just want to know your guys' opinions on the game. I thought it was a masterpiece. I thought it was amazing, and I love it so much, and I think about it every day. That's long story short with me. That's really all I have to say about it because it was just freaking beautiful, and also Cloud is just gorgeous, and all of them are gorgeous. Aerith is gorgeous, Tifa's gorgeous, Barrett's gorgeous. They all are just beautiful.
That is all valid.
It's so true. Except the only thing that bothered me is that Cloud was flexing constantly. I was like, can you relax? And maybe that's just how he looks. He's just that ripped. But
It's all that Mako teen in his body.
it just causes you to constantly flex your muscles. Just oh god, that would be so painful.
He's so sore.
Oh god, poor guy. Katie, what did you think about the remake?
I pretty much loved it. I was a huge fan. I have issues. I didn't think it was perfect. But my main issues are some of the story changes I didn't like. my favorite stuff in the remake are basically all the moments that kind of follow the original story, but like beef it up a bit, like with stuff like I said earlier, where like they focus more on things or they give it better dialogue and stuff like that. That all that stuff I absolutely loved. All the moments when it was following the original. Some of the more like original ideas they came up with, I thought were a bit more like gimmicky. Like I personally hated. Wait, are we okay with spoilers? We did say yes, right?
Every
I
spoiler.
personally
There we
hated
go.
everything with the time wraith ghosts. I'm not a fan of that. And then I thought it had problems like with like pacing sometimes, where like moments where I was like, the game kind of felt like it was lagging a bit and adding extra bits just to make it longer. But I don't want to sound like I'm like you know, like really dogging on it, because I really enjoyed it and felt it was like, it's my favorite part of the game is like how well they remade all the characters. They're all so faithful to their original like interpretations, which I was worried about. I was like, oh, are they going to remember what Cloud was actually like, what Aerith was
Right.
actually like? It's like Aerith's the sassy girl. Like she's not like, everyone always like kind of has this image of her now as like the really like wholesome, like cute, innocent one. And it's like, no, Aerith was always the sassy one. Tifa was always kind of the more like girl next door-ish, and they remember that. And I was like, yes,
Aerith was
I
Word.
appreciated that too.
sassafras.
Yeah.
I
I
loved her.
love that. I was so happy about that.
Oh, I know.
I love Cloud in that game. They got him perfect. All the characters are like just so perfect, like perfectly done. Especially for me coming off of like something like Kingdom Hearts 3, which I was kind of disappointed in, where I was like, the characters all feel like a little stale at this point. There's not much they're doing with them anymore. And then I went right into 7 and I was like, oh, there's so much personality to them, and they grow and change. And yeah, I mean, I quite enjoyed it. I'm glad it was remade.
Yeah, no, the characters are amazing. I think that was
Mhm.
what just outshined the whole thing. But other than kind of the time wraith thing, because I couldn't remember if that was part of the original. It'd been that long since I've played. But was there any other?
It was not. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, I guess it wasn't. But because I didn't remember it. But was there any
Mhm.
other issues that you had with it?
Other than just there's like as I said, there's parts where I felt like they only put it in there to make the game longer. And I get why, because they probably thought like people wouldn't feel justified with like the whole set splitting it into different parts thing, because a lot of people were worried about that going in. They were like, can this really be divided into different parts? Can you fit Midgar all into one part? And you can, for me, you can kind of tell that at times they added in a couple extra segments to like make the game longer, so that you felt justified in your purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Like I get that, but for me, I was like, I didn't think they needed them. Like the part when they I think like toward the end, like things are kind of really ramping up, and you see, I think it's when Cloud finally sees Sephiroth on the bridge, and he goes to attack him, and like you think like this is like kind of the build up toward the end, and then he falls down the bridge, and you have to like mess around in Hojo's lab for like an hour, and nothing really happens there. And I was like, oh, I was getting so into it. Don't bring me to a halt. But I'm a little more critical on those things. So, other than that, I didn't really have much problem with it at all. I was very, very happy with the game.
Oh, good. It's funny when you mentioned that. A drowned in chat immediately said the underground lab.
Oh yeah,
And Vanessa is like laughing her ass off right now as you're saying that, and like nodding her head. So I think you're not the only one. Yeah,
I'm glad I'm not alone in that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's definitely
Evil
weird and
Tux
random.
just asked, remind me, because it's been so long, wasn't Midgar all a part of Disc 1 for the original? Yes, it was. It was.
Oh, I misinterpreted the question.
Yeah, I think Disc 1 goes a little bit past Midgar.
Way further.
It goes.
Yeah. Disc 1 ends at the Temple of the Ancients, right?
Right.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
God.
Right after a certain iconic event from FF7 happens.
We're gonna talk about
cry
that
every
one
time.
later.
It's
Yeah.
multiple
Yeah.
women. It's like, we're gonna do this to you, and then we're gonna force you to get up off your ass and change your disc.
But I kind of love that because it was
a travesty, really.
I remember sitting there like with tears down my 14-year-old eyes and being like, and like changing my disc slowly and like, and just like, yeah. Doctor, what did you think of the remake?
Well, I don't make it unknown that I absolutely loved it.
Oh,
I loved
thought you
it
were
a
gonna say
lot.
something else.
No, I played most. I did a very thorough first playthrough too. Like every time you went into one of those areas that had like all the like little side quests you could do, I didn't leave the area until I completed all of them.
Yeah,
every time
same.
I failed. And I, to a point, do agree with you, Katie, where it kind of felt like it was dragging on a little bit. But what I love for I'm a sucker for character development, even if they're not important characters. I like to know about these people like in the slums, you know. So kind of being able to do those quests and kind of getting a feel for who these people are, rather than just like these are the guys that live in the slum. Of course, that's what their thing is, you know.
Like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's like, but like Jesse, right? Wasn't he a good example of that? He was the gray-haired one, right? That worked for Don Corneo. Like, I think that was his name. You go around him in the sewers and you find out about his his.
Talking about? Oh, God.
Wesley.
Wesley.
Was it Wesley? Okay, yeah. That was great. Like, I was just thinking, like, that was an example of what you said. That was great. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he wasn't even in the original. Leslie, thank you. Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he wasn't. Neither was like Madam M or Chocobo Sam or.
And they're all great. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I completely agree.
I love
I didn't mean to
Madam
cut
M.
you off. I'm sorry. I just
No,
thought about
yeah,
it.
just
sorry.
selfish you feel. Was yeah, but Doctor, yeah, the characters are awesome. Was there anything you didn't like? Was there anything that was just like to you, or was it just all like perfect to you, like me?
Well, hold on. Let me continue.
Oh, sorry.
I need to get my train of thought back. I
Sorry.
like. No, you're totally okay. Those are super valid points. I liked the new characters more than I thought I would, which is something I was really worried because like Final Fantasy VII was kind of like my baby. Like I loved that game more than anything else. Like,
Aww.
and so when I saw like they started doing like the trailers that were released that were kind of longer and longer, and then you start to see more people, and then like I think it was Chocobo Sam that I saw, and I was like, who is that? I couldn't imagine a scenario in my head where that man felt like, howdy partner, like
Howdy, Oh shit, we just lost.
Oh no,
somebody.
we lost Katie.
Oh, oh, she's back. Okay, no worries.
Sorry.
No, it's all good, girl. She's like,
She's
I'm leaving.
revived.
No. I disconnected for a second.
Oh no worries.
I'm gonna have a kind of a hard time saying things that I don't like because I've kind of made some promises to myself about like holding off judgment. But I will say that I was not disappointed, but I'm like worried about how it ended. Because like obviously I don't have the whole story yet, apparently. So it could be a banger, right? Like they could make some weird switcheroo that like really relates to the next part of the game, and it like kind of makes things a little more cohesive. Because Final Fantasy VII, if we're being honest, has a really weird storyline that sometimes is hard to follow. It's not Kingdom Hearts level of hard to follow, but it's like it's still like kind of. I was like young when I was watching. I was like, yeah, whatever you say. I don't know what's going on.
Genova who?
Like
Who am I? Who's
alien?
Mother?
He's an alien.
Yeah,
exactly.
mom?
No, that's.
Yeah.
So I told myself that I wouldn't have strong opinions on it until I saw at least the second part of the game. That being said, I am worried about it, but I wouldn't say I hate it yet because I don't know the outcome. There are some things. Going back to one more thing that I want to debate people on is I've heard a lot of people complain about how linear the game is, which is pretty linear. But if you really, really look at Final Fantasy VII, the original, just because there was an open world, that game was really, really linear as well. Like, you only could... like, what you get out of Midgar, you can't go... You obviously can't go through the cave that's right out here. You can only be in this little area until you figure stuff out with, like, a little chocobo farm, and then it lets you go through that. And then there's more things that get in your way, so you have to do the area. So it's really still a linear game. It just gives you the illusion of it not being that way because of... the open world.
Right. Before I move on to Shadow, also chat, let us know what you thought of the remake. I would love to read out your thoughts because I haven't heard many negative things about this, but I'm curious if anyone does have it. Go ahead.
I do have one thing that I think will, for me, completely not throw the game in the trash, but it'll make me very, very disappointed. And it's some people, I feel people talking about it all the time, and my opinion is, like, there's no way they're going to do that. Is there are some people that have these theories that Aerith is in this game is not going to die.
We're gonna talk about that in a little bit.
Sorry.
No. You wouldn't have known. I was hoping nobody would bring it up, and I was wondering if anyone would. We are gonna talk about that and what.
Cool. Get at me later then.
Yeah, that has been something we see often, that Zack and Aerith might not die. But again, we'll revisit that subject. So keep that in your head because we are gonna talk about that more. Shadow. What you played the remake? What'd you think? I can't do English right now.
Technically, the remake is in my backlog. I did play enough to say one thing, hands down. Thank you so much for the Honeybee Inn.
Oh God.
That
Awesome.
That was such a there was so many like. So I'm going to tell you what I feel like is why the game succeeded so well, because people went in scared about so much shit. They were scared that Square was just going to fuck it up in so many ways. Honeybee Inn, one of them, and they didn't. So like the fact that like they didn't pull, for example, like a controversial Last of Us on fans of the franchise, like especially fans of Final Fantasy VII, they like, I don't know, it was like inertia. Like, you know, Square didn't screw it up, so the fans were like, yeah, like this game is amazing, and they were able to embrace a lot of the changes, you know, a lot better. They didn't get to like shut their eyes and ears to it. The Honeybee Inn was absolutely like I basically played up to that point, and I was like, okay, I'm done. Now I'm gonna anticipate this game and really savor it when I get to it.
Right.
Your shirt.
I'm just like, I forgot I was wearing it. I want to make it known. Yeah, definitely. I'm really interested, since they did do Honeybee Inn so well, what they're gonna do with the Golden Saucer. I'm really excited.
Yes. Golden Saucer could be like its own game.
You know what I do think?
Go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, you know what I really want them to change though? Like, I'm not a purist, so the worst part of Final Fantasy VII Original, in my opinion, was the absolute trash heap. Was the that you had to defend Fort Condor with like placing the troops around, and it took so long. And every time, I literally had no understanding of what I was doing.
Yeah, I hated that part.
I can do without Fort Condor. That actually reminded me of Final Fantasy VI with like the Mughal battles where you had to like, form your squads.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
like, oh, protect Terra because she fell down, or you know whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
What I also wanted to say was I hope. So I feel like a couple of the complaints that were mentioned were like how there was a bit of a filler to sort of justify the expense. I feel like that filler exists because most of the development was asset building, and now that you have so much assets already built that you can use in, you know, sequels to this game, that there will be less of that kind of like garbage filler in the subsequent games because they're spending less time developing, you know, assets. They're able to use a lot more that already exists. Whereas for the first one, they had to build everything from the ground up, and they have to make up for that expense with game sales. So you have to make a good game, but also keep it long enough for people to be, you know, willing to be okay spending for it.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would also like to say in a rebuttal, like, I don't hope that they get rid of Fort Condor.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to see it being done better. Because, like, I know we'll never get this technical.
That actual battle, the way that played out, I could do without. But keep Fort Condor and keep that story piece.
Well, not even just the story, the system itself. Like, I hated how it was done in 1997. But I would like to see that battle type thing reworked a little bit, just because, and I know it'll never be this technical, but I like little whiffs of it in my video games, because I'm a huge, like, real-time strategy player. Like, I play a lot of StarCraft 2. And I love kind of, like, on-the-fly building and whatnot to get things there. So if they could make it a little more advanced and a little more cohesive and not super easy and just feel like an annoyance, I think it would be really, really cool. But I know I don't share that sentiment with everybody because RTS is dying. Big teams.
I love RTSs.
Me too, man.
Yeah, same.
What, Vanessa?
Are you sorry, Doc? Are you talking about the part of Fort Condor where it's very like tower defensey, where
Yep.
you set up?
Yeah,
Okay.
Put
exactly.
the troops around, and it's just like
Yeah,
almost
and you
doesn't
just like
matter where
sit
you
there
put
and
them.
watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that part was annoying, especially because the opposing troops were just moving so slow.
It was
Come
awful.
on.
Good God.
Come on.
God, it's been a while. And last person, Vanessa, how did you feel about the remake? Because I know you've been trying to platinum it for a while. And
it's
you're
not-
playing solitaire instead.
God.
Calling you out, bitch.
Oh. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. It's okay. It's fine. I'm not a trophy hunter anyways. I just thought it'd be cool. Yeah, overall I really did like the remake. I understand where where the whispers come in. It gets kind of like, this sounds like a fan fiction right now.
God.
The writing, like, it totally does degrade the writing a little bit. Like, I mean, it's cool though because I'm just happy that Zach lives because he's best boy. But at the same time, I'm like, now I don't feel as bad about his death. Like whenever I replayed a little bit of Crisis Core the other day, and I was like, I don't feel so bad now. So it kind of like the part I liked about that game was the fact that it was just so sad and depressing, and it made me cry and feel stuff. And now I feel like I'm not getting that.
Yeah,
But
that's why you got to be careful with remakes.
Yeah.
I always apply the
Yeah.
multiverse theory. I feel like there are many dead Zacks out there in different Final Fantasy universes.
just
And you
like,
should
There are
mourn
many
all of
dead
them.
Zacks.
Do not forget my boy Zack.
don't worry. he's
That's
dead.
actually important to note, though, because I don't believe that Zack is still alive in our version of the remake fantasy. He's still dead, I think.
I think so.
And I think when he was like, Aerith, remember, is like super connected to the planet being an ancient. So I think she felt his presence more than his presence being real.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Walking in the same area that he once walked in, etc., etc.
Yeah, like in a different veil or whatever.
Veil, yeah, exactly.
Right.
Or
I
it could
feel
be
that.
like she's able to pluck or identify, like filter out his presence in the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mhm.
And it
I
for
feel-
sure is a different reality. Like, they tell you it, essentially, in the game. When you see the poster of, what was the dog's name that was on all the cartoons? Like, fly by really slow, like, you slowed it down. And it's distinctively a different design. Stamp. It's distinctively a different design than you've seen the entire game. And I think that's super important.
Oh, that's crazy. I gotta go back and I think I played the ending once and that was enough for me. I felt all the feels and I couldn't really play it again, but I think I should go back and watch that part because I totally didn't catch that. I just thought, oh look, and there's Stamp just flying towards me randomly. But yeah, I agree with Shadow 100%. The Honeybee Inn scene was definitely my favorite. I have a separate save file just to watch that scene whenever I please. Because Andrea Rodea is just like amazing.
It is a king.
The entirety of Wall Market is amazing in that
It
game.
really is.
I love Wall Market.
It's the best part of the whole game for me.
It really is.
I made my own little mini game where I like ran around trying to find so there's a little German Shepherd in Wall Market, and then you could find them in different parts of it, and I have like screenshots of them. Just
No way.
Oh,
yeah,
oh.
I like my own little hunt.
I just wanted to bring something out Drowned said in chat, since I'm saying chat, come on in, tell us what you think about the remake. We really would like to know. And Drowned says that 7 is a weirdly experimental, as almost everything has a mini game at some point, and I think that with 8 they have made it more cohesive. They made it more cohesive with it just having Triple Triad and a few other mini games. This was, I think, about the original. And then Drown says that the second isn't great, to be honest. I'm hoping to finish. Wait, is he talking about Final Fantasy still? I thought he was talking about the second part of the game.
I think he's talking about Ni no Kuni.
Oh, my bad. Okay, sorry. He said something about. Oh, okay. I lost it. Okay, he said, we have the Final Fantasy that can now be used as the linear litmus test for the rest. Oh shit, I lost it because somebody just said something.
Oh, sorry, that was me.
No, it's okay. I'm just having trouble. For the rest of the series, are there NPCs and side quests that don't involve the combat system? Yes, then it isn't as linear as 13, is what he says. I thought, yeah, I guess it isn't, but yeah. So then I did want to talk about kind of like these theories. So I know that a lot has been kind of speculated. A lot of people were pissed off about the ending, and I don't honestly see why. I think it hints at some things that could happen, but it doesn't really like tell you. Like it's not saying that Aerith isn't dead. It's not saying that Zack isn't dead. But that's kind of a rumor going around.
I'd like them not to be dead.
I would like that, but
I don't want depressing stories. We've got 2020. You want a depressing story? Turn off the video game and go look outside.
That's true.
Oof,
but
that's too real.
yeah, but also just like, and then Drowned also kind of makes the point in chat that the remake is kind of might be an alternate timeline. I don't know. I feel like Aerith is gonna die. I'm sorry, because they kept mentioning the hints, the 7 seconds thing. They kept showing scenes of her death in there, like I almost said drowned. Cloud drowning her in the pool. You know,
That's exactly what he did.
That's what some people say. But I think she's gonna die still. I really do. I don't think they could really do it without her dying.
That was.
I think you're gonna die.
Okay.
Don't hate on my girl like that. Give me some hope. Give me some hope.
I mean, that really though, that was a really.
I need them to hook up.
You just want them to be happy.
You need them to hook up.
Oh.
Katie, what do you think? Do you think that was ever kind of a possibility in your head, or are you just kind of like, I don't fucking know?
That Aerith won't die?
Yeah, Aerith or Zack. Like, do you think they're not going to die? Because that's been like a huge rumor.
My guess with Zack is it's going to be either a DLC thing, the untold story of Zack or something like that.
Okay.
Or in the subsequent entries, there's going to be side segments where you play as Zack, kind of either in a different point in time or a different timeline. So you'll play mostly as Cloud and the gang, but then occasionally it'll break off to kind of the way Laguna does in FF8 to play as Zack. I think they might do something like that. I don't know if I think he's alive in some sense. I think they even said in the FF7 remake Ultimania that like he was alive or something. Don't quote me on that, but like something like that. But I don't think it's going to be like straight up like he's alive and he's coming back, or if it is, it won't happen till like the very end. As far as Aerith, I think she's definitely still going to die, but they're either now going to put it toward the end of the story or in a way that completely like subverts expectations. Like she's definitely, in my opinion, not going to die the same way she does in the original, because people wouldn't be as like, especially now that they've set up that like
shocking if they
we're on a different path. I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said it's not shocking if they do it again.
Right. But they want my guess is they want to retain that, but at the same time they want to surprise everyone. So they want to surprise both. They want to surprise newcomers and people who know exactly what's going to happen. But they also don't want to tick people off who like think that's integral to the story. So she will definitely die, but it'll happen in a different way or some sort of way that like catches everyone off guard. That's my guess. They don't want
to tick me off either, though. They need to be careful about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I want her to, but I adore Aerith, but
and keep Zack around, and then he joins everybody.
I mean,
and then he's like, "Now I'm gonna fight Sephiroth," and then it's like, "Wait, is Zack the real hero of the game? Does Zack kill Sephiroth?"
Whoa,
hell yeah,
that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that think it's gonna be Tifa, but to me that's just too gimmicky. I don't think they're gonna do that.
I think that would piss people off. I feel like that would piss more people off.
That would piss a lot of people off
than it would to kill off Aerith. Like I feel like that would just melt people's heads.
Oh, everyone would lose their shit.
Oh shit!
But there was. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
There was that scene in the Shinra VR room where like Sephiroth like manipulates the whole screen, and all you see is Midgar burning and him killing Tifa and Barrett. So I wonder if that's like foreshadowing that one of them's gonna die. I mean, like, what's his name?
Now I'm just scared.
Mr. Shinra, that President Shinra's office. Like Sephiroth stabs Barrett, and we all like. I lost my shit. I threw my remote. I was not okay with that. I was like, no, you are not taking Barrett away from me. But
Thank you.
I wonder, since he didn't, like since he survived, like the Whisper saved him. I wonder if that means now that Tifa's probably going to end up dying. Is that like, Katie? What do you think that's probably where everyone's getting this idea? Because that's
I think it's mostly just coming from they probably think that they're gonna try to surprise us, so they're gonna do the other beloved female character in
They could
maybe
kill you
because like Tifa is definitely like the fan favorite. Like everyone loves her, so they maybe everyone just kind of has this idea in mind that they're gonna like Game of Thrones it by like purposefully killing off the favorite just so that it shakes things up.
So everyone can be pissed.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do it, to be honest. I think Tifa's gonna be fine, but we'll see.
I know. I'm like, I don't know. Someone's gonna die either way. They're not gonna just have everyone get out of this unscathed. It just isn't right. So, you know,
FF7 is actually a pretty sad and dark story, like the original. So if they want to retain like kind of like that same essence, someone probably is doomed.
Oh yeah, someone's doomed. And
Someone's
it probably is Eric. Doctor, I can see you're ready to talk. What do you have to say? He's been like ready, and I'm like, I want to hear what you have to say about this. Oh God, are you muted?
Are you muted?
Huh?
Nope. Now you're muted.
Wait, he's muted.
Am I good now?
Oh, now you're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Damn it.
Sorry, it was not flashing. So I'm sorry if I repeat anything, but I think the story pretty heavily relied on the whole fate being important and not going against it, because the whole reason that they did, I think, the whole reason that they fake news killed Barrett and then he came alive is the same reason why when Aerith was running away in the initial scene you meet her and she almost falls off the church and she would have fallen and probably died because of the height, the shadow actually scooped her and put her back up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the arbiters of fate, right, is what they're called. So I think they're just making sure that what is supposed to happen happens. And so since Aerith was not supposed to die that way or die there, they said the arbiters of fate were like, nope, can't do that. And then later, when Barrett is killed, essentially, again, the arbiters of fate are like, nope, you can't do that. And that's why people are pretty worried, because we dissipate the whole Arbiter of Fate thing, right? So, like, now, it really is anything goes now. It's a new story entirely. But here's the thing. I think both it's a strong opinion, both Zack and Aerith's death, in the original at least, are integral to the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 100%. Like, the events don't fold out the way they do unless both of those characters are dead. Especially because Cloud, his whole memory thing, and him basically, like, I didn't catch this until I was much older, but it really seems like Cloud is actually suffering from, like, PTSD. How he was in war, his best friend died, and he, like, basically took over the persona of his best friend. If that doesn't scream PTSD, I don't know what does, you know? And so that's a whole part of the story. And Aerith, when she dies, Sephiroth thought he had won at that point, but he didn't realize that now that she's in the life string, she was able to really save the day at the very end. Like, when we didn't kill him on time, essentially, and Meteor was, like, right fucking there, Aerith and the life stream was the one who, like, essentially pushed Holy to work. Because Holy wasn't working because it was too late, right? And then Aerith was the one, I think, that really pushed it over the edge. And so her death also integral to how the game works out.
Mm-hmm.
And so the thing is that's why I am actually worried that she doesn't die, is because we essentially killed the Arbiters of Fate that would have insisted that she died the way she died. But since they're dissipated and no longer in the game, that is literally telling us point blank, you don't know what is going to happen for the rest of this game.
Damn.
So,
There's a lot of people who think they're an analogy for FF7 fans too.
Yeah,
Really?
My friend thinks that.
They desperately have to have everything be the same. They're purists, and like killing them at the end is kind of symbolic of like being able to break free and like and just like accept that like we're going in a different direction, and you know like be okay with change. That's
like a whole meta narrative kind of deal, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of people that think that.
That's
absolutely.
I actually really like that. Actually, like that's kind of like dope.
I've got a deal. They don't have to kill Earth. They don't have to kill Zack. They can kill Ruby weapon and all these other garbage weapons because I have no idea how they're going to pull that off in the remake. That's going to suck hard. Those are going to be some hard fights if they do them again.
I hope they're hard. They're supposed to be hard. They're super
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like
a 1 hour fight.
Yeah, and that's the thing though. Final Fantasy VII, or not Final Fantasy VII specifically, in the West at least, they were usually added later as specifically difficult fights that had no meaning to completing the story at all, and they're just meant for challenges for players. And there's a ton, like every single game from 1 on has a quote-unquote super boss. Even in Final Fantasy 1, it's a random encounter on the last stretch to the final boss. You had like a 5% chance of coming across Warmech, and Warmech was actually harder than Chaos, like by quite a lot. So he was the quote-unquote super boss from that game. And so I really think it's also super important that we have the weapons in the game, because it's kind of like, to me, it's kind of like a flourish that Final Fantasy does at this point. And I love it. I've basically not beaten almost any of them, by the way. But I love it, like, you know.
I think the only one who beats the super bosses in our group is maybe Shadow, and LT always did. He was always on top of those super bosses, so all of us were kind of like, meh, no thanks.
I'm like grinding 600 hours on Final Fantasy IV to fight pink slimes and shit.
Yeah. Because, I remember LT being like, yes, I did the super bosses, and we're just like, oh god, LT, how do you do it?
What do you do?
There was a gaming magazine that talked about the pink slimes, and I think they had a 0.014% chance of spawning in Final Fantasy IV.
Oh my god.
And by killing an entire group of them, which was very difficult, you get one item which lets you get one piece of armor for one of your characters, which makes them like nearly impervious. You don't need it. You can totally beat the game without it. Yeah. And I did like a whole full party of it. So I dropped literally like 600 hours on that game.
Right. Sorry, just want to touch. So just to rebuttal what you said, kind of, Doctor, Drown says that's what, in the original game story, Holy is only activated by a sacrifice of someone praying and returning to the planet, which is kind of what you said. Which a lot of people are, when we were talking about sacrifices, a lot of people were like, Aerith didn't have to die, and I was like, but she did.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
In any other circumstance, they lose.
Yeah.
If you replay the original too, it's like, it hints at it a lot. Like, it doesn't come out of nowhere. Like, they give little subtle hints that she's doomed throughout the whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah. They flash to it, and then somebody, actually a Clarith shipper, put this out, and I'm kind of a Clarith shipper, sorry guys. But they said when Cloud's having those flashes, and he's like freaking out, he only clutches his head and flips the fuck out when it's stuff with Aerith dying, and he knows it's gonna happen. And I was like, oh shit, and I was like, he loves her so much. But that I kind of noticed that too, that he really has an emotional reaction when he sees these death scenes of Aerith, because we do see it in the game.
Well, he does, PTSD Zach.
Oh, he does do,
yeah.
So how would Zach react if Zach
it's like if Zach was watching his girlfriend die. Yeah.
Head explode. We just saw it on cam.
Yeah.
My brain. Anyways, Craig also says, and this is kind of a good point, I don't think they will change anything with Aerith. This gave Cloud a final reason to go after Sephiroth.
It did. It pushed him in the direction he needed to go, for sure.
Yeah.
Because up until a whole bunch of the first game, he literally didn't give a shit what was going on.
No. And I don't know, I feel like now he does in the remake, because it's
a little more,
really fucking with his head, but yeah, it definitely does give him reason. Shadow and Vanessa, what did you guys think of this? Do you guys think they're gonna die? Because you guys have kind of touched onto our arguments, but I just want to know exactly what you think.
Yeah, I think that ultimately they're gonna probably end up not killing them off, you know what I mean? I feel like they're gonna let us think, oh, everyone's gonna live and we're gonna be happy, and then we're gonna get to the end of the game and then we're gonna realize, oh shit, these deaths had to happen in order to defeat Sephiroth and Genova, so they're gonna make you go back and kill off your allies yourself, basically.
Oh my god! Why do you hate us?
Holy crap, that's wow.
Imagine Cloud having to do that.
Yeah, just sit there.
It would just be a fucking... And Cloud's already a pretty tragic character, in my opinion. Like, he's very emotional. So that would be pretty crazy. What about you, Shadow? I know you didn't... You're still backlogging, but what do you think about all this?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna wait like 20 years to play them until everybody can tell me like whether or not Aerith and Zach are dead.
Oh my god.
I don't need more of that. I honestly feel like I wouldn't be surprised if they came out of left field and did something like sacrifice Vincent for the greater good, because Vincent is the best and he would be a great loss to suffer. I don't think they'd go that route.
No.
And what I always want for video games never happens. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want people to die. I don't want people I care about to die.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get me wrong, by the way. I want to back this up. I love Aerith as a character. She is one of my favorite characters in the game for sure. It's not because I want her to die.
No, she has to.
Really important that she does.
Sorry.
The reality of it.
If I had the money, I'd pay $1 billion for Square to make me a game that's called Aerith Doesn't Die, and it's just watching her and Zach go on dates. I'd totally be down for that. Go on picnics and shit. He gets to like be all smooth and suave, and she gets to laugh at him because he's a dork. I'll buy that game. Yep.
Oh lord. Anyways,
It's a dating sim.
Oh, they should have a Final Fantasy VII dating sim. Why haven't they done that yet?
It would sell like
Yeah,
hotcakes.
Oh,
yeah.
people
Dude,
would. I think there's not a single character that isn't shipped with someone in that game. Like Sephiroth at Tifa. I've seen Sephiroth.
Kate
Tifa.
Sith.
Kate Sith. Oh God, has he been shipped with anyone?
I'm sure he has.
Oh yeah. All the furries out there.
Oh god damn. Words actually just came in and said, I think the dramatic story twist will be that Cloud is realizing he's never been happy as he was dancing in the honeybee, and the second and third parts will just be dancing, dating, VN crossover.
Yes!
Love it.
Yes.
Love it.
That sounds like an even better remake.
He's like, fuck
I'm
you
okay
guys,
with
I'm gonna
that.
go dance at the honeybee inn.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be a merc anymore.
So to our audience, my brother's wedding is in a little bit. So I've had a crazy day today. I went hiking and now I have to go zoom in my brother's wedding. Not for a while, but we do have to wrap up pretty soon just because I need to, dress in all black and go to my brother's wedding, which sounds really weird, but the bridesmaids' colors are blacks and I'm a bridesmaid that is not there. So, anyways, so back to so we were going to talk about thank you, Bobo, for the bits. We're talking
Thank you.
about
Hot for the dating sim fun.
Oh, yes, for fucking real. We talked about the remakes. We talked about kind of just remakes in general. I want to know what kind of games you guys would like to see remade in this. This is all hypothetical. If there was like a game that Square Enix or any gaming company came to you and said, I love you, I'm going to remake this fucking game for you because you are my biggest fan. And they did it. And they did it all for you. What game do you want remade? I see on Twitter a lot of Final Fantasy VI is always a subject of remake, which I honestly agree with, and also Chrono Trigger which is why we have ChronoKatie here. Not only that, but we were like, ooh, Katie can talk about this.
Your face is priceless right there,
yeah.
Katie.
But even like other games, like if there's like a Final Fantasy, because I know that some people said Final Fantasy X, which I don't agree with, but like it's your opinion. Any game, even like on Switch, it doesn't have to be like a PS5 game. Any game in the fucking world that you want remade. These are not rumors, by the way. This is just all us wishing for things that we can't have. So I'm going to start with you, Katie. What kind of game would you want remade?
Oh God, I might need a couple minutes. I'm literally looking at my posters, looking at all the games that I have here, trying to think of like what I'd pick.
I can come back to you.
Oh wow. What's that?
I can come back to you.
Yeah, if you can, yeah.
Okay, I'll come back to you. Doctor, do you have any games? Because I know that this was you. You're like, let's talk about some games you want remade.
Yeah, and the whole time I have a not a real answer, I think. But this game was never made, but it definitely was supposed to, and there's like a lot of things proving that, and I wish they would go ahead and actually make it because they scrapped it. Is that an acceptable answer?
Of course, yes.
The third installment of Final Fantasy X.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That really didn't go anywhere.
Yeah. It just kind of fizzled, which is weird because I think the storyline, at least at the beginning of Final Fantasy X-2, was not super well received by people, myself included. And a lot of people, there's weird like little things that people talk about all the time, and people think about like, say things like, people didn't like it because it was like an all-female cast, which is definitely not the case. The thing that struck me odd, that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, if you will, at the very beginning of the game, is like how Yuna was like a pop singer.
You cannot do
I was like, this bad
I like that part.
saved
I love
the
that
planet. Like on this sacred pilgrimage, and now she's a pop singer. I don't understand what happened. What happened in between?
Well, that's the natural progression. Where do you go after you're no longer a sacrificial pilgrim?
Yeah.
That's so
To become a
true.
pop singer.
I absolutely can't comment this on any real sense because I'm not a woman myself, but it felt to me a little degrading. I don't know though.
I mean, I feel like if you're known to the world, that's the perfect time to be a pop singer because everyone fucking knows you can save you from sin.
That's a good
So,
point.
yes.
That's a darn good
Everyone's
point.
gonna go to
Everyone
all your
knows her at
shows.
that point.
So everyone's
Yeah.
like, she's like, I'm gonna make this my singing career. Like, I can totally see it. And then Drown makes a point, except that's not Yuna.
And that was weird too. Like it's like, whoa, I got you. Like,
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. That's right.
and I was just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
okay.
What bothered me about that was like how LeBlanc was able to take on Yuna's whole image when she used the garment grid, but then everyone else like can everyone else do that? Like, can Riku go off and look like Yuna then?
I'm gonna be a
I
pop
don't
star,
know.
Yuna.
I feel like that's
Now I'm gonna think about that forever. How Yuna's like, I'm just gonna start my pop singing career. Like, sorry, no worries. But Final Fantasy X-3, I remember that it was supposed to have a thing where like Yuna and Tidus weren't together anymore, and that made me really upset when I heard about that.
I mean, that makes sense because he's gone, right?
Yeah, but like he like came back or something. I don't know. I don't remember the premise of the story, but I think I remember
He wasn't real.
Yeah, he what?
He wasn't real was the thing.
which is a meta narrative on all of us who like to date fictitious
Oh
boys.
my god, I just realized that they were literally like, you guys are crazy. These people are not real.
Oh, that's good. I've never heard that. Oh my god, that's good.
I remember I really thought Sora was my boyfriend for a really long time. Like, it was like a thing. I was like 12, but like I really was like, he's my boyfriend and he's gonna come back for me. I just don't remember him that well. Oh god, I'm exposing myself. Anyways.
That's deep. I could expose myself too if you want me.
Oh my god, please do.
No, it's just like movie night when we were watching Advent Children and Chiji and I were just thirsting over Sephiroth.
Oh my god, they literally made us rewatch the scene. They were like, "Can we please watch that one more time? I really want to see Sephiroth fight him again." And we were like, "Sure." But anyway,
I had to show him the part where you can see the outline of his ass. Like,
yeah. It was Chiji was literally like, I am so happy. He just
Oh my
anyways,
god.
Yeah. Anyways, is there any other games you want to see remade, Doctor?
I couldn't even think of a really good one that I wanted. I was just thinking, like, I honestly think a lot of the earlier Final Fantasies, some of them would be really, really hard to do. Like, I thought for a while, like, when I was thinking about this week, I kind of thought I wanted to see a Final Fantasy 3 remake, because I love that game. But then I really thought about it, and I'm like, wow, that would be trash, actually. Don't remake that. You know, like, because the big thing about the story isn't, like, super important to the gameplay, right? Like, and they were still kind of getting on their way to trying to create these more larger narratives and whatnot. But the game was mostly, like, it appealed to my love of grinding.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like to grind their level plus their job class, and I want to have all the jobs, and, like, it was just me being, like, super, like, weird about making sure everybody's up to the next level. And, like, I don't know, I just don't think it'd make a good remake.
Right. Chat, also
I
let us
feel.
know what games you want remade. I keep forgetting to ask everybody, but please type them in. We want to say them. Katie, have you thought of your response?
I'm gonna say The Legend of Zelda: Majora's Mask.
Ooh.
Sure.
That is
That's
my
okay.
third favorite game of all time. I think it's a masterpiece. I absolutely adore it, but it's aged a bit. So that's like one I can look at and say, you know what? Yeah, I would actually be okay if they retried that. They'd have to be very careful, because, yeah, I mean, certainly up the visuals, like that can help, but like a few tweaks here and there. I was surprised thinking back on it. I was like, I couldn't come up with much. Like, I was like, that game still works. Like, the only
Yeah.
other one I can think of was Final Fantasy VI. Honestly, I replayed it recently, and that could benefit from it, I guess.
Yeah, because I just played it for the first time, and I was like, I feel like I would have connected with the story better if it was remade, which I shouldn't say because it is a beautiful game despite it being from 1994. But I don't know. I just really was like, oh, I just want more. I just would love for it to be remade and just have that extension to it. But I agree with you. Yeah.
4 and 6. Those are like the only two I can kind of think about, like of Final Fantasy's past that I'm like, that could benefit from it.
Yeah.
Like 7 would have been the one I would have said first, but just because I think the visuals have aged a lot and stuff, but that's happened. So.
Right, because
10 no. I'm good with 10.
10 is,
I'm good with 10.
10 is good. It's
10's good.
10's my all-time favorite Final Fantasy, so I'm good.
Yes, I love you. It's mine too.
Yes. Drown says that 4 has already been remade, and it has been remade. It is no longer pixelated.
Yeah, it has.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
the DS version's probably the best
DS.
one too. Probably.
Oh.
It's not pixelated anymore. That was actually the version I did play. Shadow, what about you? What kind of game would you like remade? And all the really old RPG. I know I say really old, even though they're really not that old.
Hundreds of thousands of obscure games I could bring up.
Yeah, we had an episode about like the smaller Square Enix games. If you guys have not watched it, you should watch it because Shadow has so much knowledge. So
Comes in clutch.
Yeah.
So I was actually having a race with myself to think of all the games that I would want and just try to see, like, could I come up with 10? No, I didn't come up with 10 in the time allotted. But I do have more than one because there are way too many games that I think deserve to be remade or properly. And I tried to choose different ones from different genres and platforms. The first one, hands down, since Final Fantasy VI was already mentioned, I will say Xenogears, that was on the PS1.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
I talked about it during, that episode about Square's other games. That game in itself wasn't even properly finished because it was rushed because of Final Fantasy VIII. So I feel like a remake of that would be ideal, and especially if they were able to give it the proper treatment similar to Final Fantasy VII. That's one of them. Tenchu is another one that I feel like kind of went under the radar on the PS1. I would love, like, there have been sequels for that, but I would love to see that given like a Neo or what is this game, Sekiro? Like that kind of treatment. That would be dope. Ghost and Goblins, I feel like, would make an excellent Dark Souls or Bloodborne kind of game.
Oh, that would be so cool!
Right?
That would be
because that
rad!
game is notorious for being like so difficult for an 8-bit game and like always dying and stuff. So like it would be perfect as like a Dark
I'd play
Souls or
that in a
Bloodborne
heartbeat.
kind.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Final Fight, because I always want beat 'em ups to continue existing, and I think a modern touch on that would be awesome. Metal Slug has always been a 2-dimensional sprite-based like Contra kind of shooter with like vehicles mixed in that you can jump in and stuff. So I feel like a 3D like current gen remake of that would be pretty awesome, and probably pretty comedic. Bionic Commando was remade on the PS3 and Xbox 360. It didn't do well. The story was kind of weird. I feel like it deserves a second chance, or at least a remake of the original, which was done as a downloadable called Bionic Commando Rearmed. I just wish it was like a full AAA, like multi-million-dollar budget game. I feel like that could be really well done because, I mean, it's a grappling hook game. I don't know. It's different. It's like an action platformer. And another one which probably nobody has heard of is called Legendary Axe 2. It was on the TurboGrafx 16/PC engine. It was basically Hudson's answer to Castlevania, and it has probably one of the best 8-bit soundtracks out there. And it was really well done. It's like a Castlevania type linear action platformer. You're like this barbarian / like whatever type of guy, and you're just like in this like very gory, ghoulish castle, making your way up to the top with the boss with like interchangeable weapons and stuff. I feel like as a Metroid kind of game where like you can upgrade gear and stuff like that, I feel like that would be really well done in a 3D world.
Nice.
So yeah,
quite a few. I feel like
I never heard of that one.
Games would do more justice being remade just because they are lesser known.
Yeah,
I feel like those definitely would.
If they were given the proper budget.
Yeah.
I feel like it would really blow up.
One of the ones I always wanted was DuckTales, and they finally did that. So
Hell yeah, that was a proper remake.
I loved it. I love the DuckTales remake. It's so cute.
No, I just love that. I love that response. I just didn't expect it. I love these games that you guys are coming up with because like you said, like I don't know, games like Chrono Trigger, I feel like, in like Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX and Kingdom Hearts even has been like, we should remake Kingdom Hearts. I feel like those games don't need to be remade. I feel like they're fine on their own.
Yeah.
And if you just remade them, it would take the magic out of them almost.
Yeah.
So like games like Shadow was mentioning, or even like Katie, Majora's Mask. I feel like a lot of people don't really know much about Majora's Mask unless they're Zelda fans. I feel like they would do more justice. They would do better if they were remade. I think it would be good to reintroduce them into the mainstream. I think that would be, like you said, like we all kind of said earlier, it would be a way to remake something that didn't do so well. You know, and that's kind of what remakes should be for. Vanessa, last person, what games do you want remade?
So I really want them to remake American McGee's Alice, only because.
Oh yeah!
Oh,
Damn, I
I
haven't thought
actually
about
love
that
the
game in
Alice
a
That's a good one.
minute.
that's a good one.
I'm like, I remember being little and like hearing about it, but never being able to find a copy of it, and I still can't find a copy of it. And I know that it came out with a sequel. Like I think Madness Returns came
Yeah.
out
That was
I was just
recently.
about to
last
type that.
year.
Yeah.
That was a
I
really good
can't-
game.
It was. Oh,
It
I
was.
can't let myself play it until I play the first one, and I'm just having such a hard time finding it. So I'm
I
like,
I
if
feel
you
like I
remake
bought it
it,
somewhere recently. American McGee's Alex. Like, is that not
At, like-
digitally available somewhere?
I'm sure it is.
I don't know. I haven't checked.
Check
but
Steam.
I need like a physical.
I feel like I bought it on
copy.
Steam or GOG or something, or maybe I bought a disc off eBay, but I doubt it.
I think it's on Steam, isn't it?
It should be. I mean,
Is
everything's
it?
on
I thought it
Steam,
was.
You know,
Like both of them.
Ooh.
Evil
You could
Tut
be
says
right, I
it
should
could be
check.
wrong, but it might be on Origin because it was an EA game. So check
Mm.
Origin
Origin.
and Steam.
Mm.
Oh, okay.
So I see
Yeah.
2 on there.
Okay, it might be on Steam. We should check for that.
We should.
That is a good
I might have
one.
bought the disc for PS3.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
I
it
just
came
like
on PS3 and Xbox.
Dark stuff.
Yeah, that was a good game. I remember playing the second one, and it was really interesting. I'm surprised that one didn't do as well. Like, it did good, but I'm surprised it's just not talked about very often today.
Yeah, it's not that popular, which is like crazy because I remember everyone loves the story of Alice in Wonderland. Like, I don't think I've ever met a person who didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And like a darker take on it, just seeing as like a lot of us love, The Nightmare Before Christmas because it's so like dark and spooky. I feel like people would still have the same feelings towards,
Absolutely.
a dark and spooky take on Alice in Wonderland.
Right.
I'm glad you brought up like dark and spooky because that totally reminded me of another one, Epic Mickey. I love
Yes!
love
Epic
that
Mickey was
game
good.
and would absolutely love to see it like redone to meet its like full potential. It's so it's underrated.
I'm so surprised that
Right.
one is not on Switch now. Because that was a good
I
one.
know.
You know?
Honestly,
I love that game. The concept, everything. I love like a darker take on Disney. I'm sometimes surprised they let that pass. I love it.
Yeah, but so not done
They
as well
did
because it was
with
darker.
Epic Mickey. They remade that Sega Genesis Mickey game,
Oh yeah. The
Enchanted
like,
Castle or something like
Castle
that.
of Illusion or something.
Oh, Castle of Illusion. That's what it was.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Jeez, that's awesome. Oh, you guys are coming up with good games. I'm very surprised. Some people from the chat. So Drown says I want to see a Repton remake. The original team. Oh, no, that was about Xenogears. Just saying that the original team isn't there anymore, and so Xenogears would not make a good remake. What do you think about that, Shadow?
I feel like Mistwalker could probably do a good job with it.
Yeah. I feel like it's hopefully they would. Bobo says Terra so God, I need to really pronounce this one and I'm not reading well today. Terranigma was a fun Square game.
Oh.
And wants it to be open world is what I saw earlier.
Grandia 2. Because
Mm.
I've heard so
Oh,
many
yeah.
great things about it. I've tried it so many times and I don't know. I just feel like it would really benefit from a remake.
I know. There's a lot of them that I think are just lesser known and
Keep the battle system the same though, because the battle system's really good.
Yes, I love it.
Ooh.
hey,
Go ahead, Doctor.
I was looking more because I completely forgot about the Alice game. By the way, now I'm like losing it, remembering it. And I actually found an article that was written in 2019. It says a new Alice game is officially in the works.
I was wondering about that. I was like, how did they never
Whoa.
make a new one? Because the second
Yeah.
one did so well.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Good.
Maybe we'll have a remake, or not a remake, but
Hallelujah.
a Steam port or something. We'll have to check for that. anyways, I would love to stay and talk more about this. My brother's wedding is in like 20 minutes. So I do have to go. This was supposed to be shorter than it was, but I don't know. Remakes are great, and I think people get really defensive about their games and their remakes. So I think we've had a pretty cordial conversation. Final Fantasy. Oh, last thought. I would love for Final Fantasy 15 to be remade with all of its stories in one fucking game. That's what I really want.
Yeah, but the universe would troll you and then add the content from the book.
But that's okay if it was in the game. I just hated the book. I hated it as a book. But if it was in the game, I would be totally happy with that. I just want everything, the movie, blah, 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 everything in a game, not in a movie, in a book, in an anime, in a book. Yeah.
Well, then maybe to spite you, they would put the book in the game that you have to read on the screen of your TV.
Yeah, it's like find the pages in the world.
They're like, fine, baby, here's your game.
Torn page acquired. Torn
Torn
27
page acquired.
out of 56 acquired.
Collect all the garbage pages.
Fucking book. Yeah, but I mean, last week we had a hot argument. Not really argument, but we were like yelling over Final Fantasy 15 stuff. So, but I like that. I was like, yes, let's yell at each other. So
Spicy.
It's spicy. Katie, thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.
Of course, yes, we love having you. Yeah, everybody have a great day. I have to go to a wedding, and I'm just mind blown that I'm going to a freaking Zoom wedding. I'm sorry, you guys. What has the world come to?
You should make it like the.
That's where we're at.
I was in the
Just change the wedding into the honeybee sequence.
If only I had like some lingerie. I would totally go into this wedding with lingerie and have my mother yell at me. Like, it would be great because I'm all the way over here and she can do nothing about it.
She can't
So,
do anything.
and like,
If it's a Zoom wedding, you could technically have like no pants on. Like if you're just like.
oh, I'm not putting pants on. Hell no.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So like background story, just real quick, telling everyone before I have to explain it again. My sister-in-law, and this is gonna be on the internet. I'm sorry if she sees it. She probably won't, but I don't care anymore. She chose the ugliest dress for me to wear, and I somehow got out of wearing this damn dress. And I'm very excited about
Like the
it.
power.
Yeah, so I'm like...
Thanks, COVID.
Thanks, COVID. And, like, my boyfriend always looks at me, he goes, you got out of wearing that damn dress, didn't you? And I was like, it wasn't my fault. Like, so, yeah. So I gotta go to a wedding. I love you all. Oh, announcement real quick. We are on Spotify now, so if you look up CarbuncleCast on Spotify, all of our episodes, except for 2 of them, the antagonist episodes, are not on there, but everything else is on there. This episode will be up on there hopefully tomorrow, if not the next day. So check us out on YouTube, check us out on Spotify, and also join our Discord if you want. We love you, and we would love to have you. So have a great day, guys.
Stay cool,
Bye.
stay calm, and stay reasonable.
Wear
And
your
wear a
mask.
mask.
Wear a mask.